Commander Rachel Torres watched through the viewport as Io's sulfur-stained surface stretched endlessly below their descent vehicle. The moon's volcanic landscape reminded her of Earth's most desolate regions, but somehow even more alien and forbidding. As senior officer of the Galileo Research Station, she'd made this landing dozens of times, but something felt different today. "Final approach sequence initiated," announced Dr. James Harrison from the pilot's seat. His fingers danced across the controls with practiced precision. Behind them, Dr. Natasha Petrov continued monitoring her geological instruments, while Security Officer Marcus Williams performed his standard weapons check. The landing struts touched down with a gentle bump, kicking up a cloud of sulfuric dust. Rachel completed the shutdown sequence and turned to address her team. "Standard protocols, people. We've got 6 months to complete our survey of the new vent field. Let's make them count." The Galileo Research Station had been their home for the past year, a series of interconnected modules anchored to Io's hostile surface. It wasn't much, but it was humanity's first permanent outpost on Jupiter's most volatile moon. As they cycled through the airlock, Dr. Petrov's handheld scanner emitted an unusual tone. She frowned at the display. "Commander, I'm picking up some odd energy signatures from the northern quadrant. Nothing like our usual volcanic readings." Rachel peered at the scanner's screen. The energy pattern pulsed with an almost rhythmic regularity, definitely not typical of Io's natural geological activity. "Log it for now. We'll investigate once we're properly settled in." The team spent the next few hours reactivating the station's systems and running diagnostics. Everything seemed normal, except for the communication array. Marcus reported intermittent interference patterns that didn't match any known natural phenomena. That night, Rachel couldn't sleep. The station's subtle vibrations felt wrong somehow, off rhythm from the familiar tremors of Io's constant volcanic activity. She made her way to the observation dome, where she found Dr. Harrison already staring out at the sulfuric plains. "Can't sleep either?" she asked, joining him at the viewport. "Something's different," he replied, not taking his eyes off the horizon. "The vents aren't behaving like they should. Look there." He pointed to a distant fissure where pale blue light flickered beneath the usual orange glow of sulfur emissions. Before Rachel could respond, all the station's lights went dark. Emergency power kicked in immediately, bathing everything in red light. Dr. Petrov's voice crackled over the intercom, "Commander, you need to see this. Now." Rachel and James rushed to the science lab, where Natasha sat surrounded by holographic displays showing rapidly changing data. "The energy signature I detected earlier. It's growing. And it's moving." The readings showed a coherent pattern of energy moving through Io's subsurface, following the moon's natural lava tubes but with deliberate purpose. It was heading straight for the station. Marcus burst into the lab, his face pale. "We've lost contact with Earth and the Europa station. All frequencies are being drowned out by some kind of signal." He handed Rachel a tablet showing the waveform analysis. "It's not random interference. There's a pattern to it." Rachel studied the pattern, her blood running cold as she realized what she was seeing. The signal wasn't just organized, it was a language. Something was trying to communicate. The station shuddered, more violently than any normal geological tremor. Warning alarms blared as sensors detected structural stress in the lower levels. Rachel keyed her comm, "All personnel, full environmental suits, now. Meet at Emergency Assembly Point Alpha." As the team rushed to comply, the metal walls around them began to resonate with a deep, subsonic hum. Equipment sparked and shorted out. Through the viewport, they could see the pale blue light approaching through the network of volcanic vents, growing brighter with each passing moment. Dr. Petrov's scanner suddenly overloaded, the screen cracking as it displayed one final reading. "Commander," she whispered, "whatever this energy is, it's alive." The floor beneath them buckled as something massive shifted in the depths below. Rachel realized with growing horror that they hadn't discovered anything, they had awakened something. Something that had been waiting in Io's molten heart for who knew how long. As the team huddled in the emergency assembly point, suited up and clutching their emergency gear, Rachel made a decision. James, prep the shuttle for emergency launch. Natasha, download all your data to portable storage. Marcus, get the emergency beacon ready. We're leaving. Marcus asked, checking his weapon's charge. Rachel shook her head, watching as more blue light began seeping through the hairline cracks appearing in the station's floors. No. We're going to find out what we just woke up. Humanity's first contact with an alien intelligence isn't going to be us running away. The hum grew louder, and through their boots, they could feel the vibrations taking on a distinct pattern, like massive footsteps approaching from below. Whatever dwelled in Io's depths was rising to meet them, and they would be the first humans to face it. Rachel checked her suit's seals one final time and activated her helmet's recording systems. If they survived this, Earth would need to know exactly what they'd found. If they didn't, at least there would be a record of humanity's first encounter with whatever ancient force they'd awakened in Jupiter's most volatile moon. The blue light that filled the chamber pulsed like a heartbeat, casting strange shadows across the team's environmental suits. Rachel noticed how it seemed to follow them, moving with purpose rather than simply spreading like normal radiation would. Natasha, what's the composition? Rachel asked, watching as the scientist adjusted her backup scanner. That's the thing, Commander, Natasha replied, frowning at the readings. It's not registering as any known form of energy. It's both matter and energy at the same time. The laws of physics don't seem to apply. The station groaned around them, metal stress points screaming under unprecedented pressures. James checked the structural integrity readings on his wrist display. We've got maybe 2 hours before the lower levels become completely compromised. Look at this, Marcus called out, pointing to where the blue light intersected with a steel support beam. The metal wasn't melting or corroding, it was transforming, taking on a crystalline structure that seemed to grow and spread like living tissue. Rachel made a quick decision. We need to get to the source. Natasha, can you track where this is coming from? The strongest readings are coming from the new vent field, about 2 kilometers north. But Commander, the surface temperatures out there are well above our suit's tolerances. We don't have a choice, Rachel responded, checking her suit's oxygen levels. Whatever this is, it's not just going to go away. And if we don't understand it now, we might not get another chance. The team made their way to the surface airlock, each step accompanied by the increasingly intense humming that seemed to resonate with their very bones. As they emerged onto Io's surface, the landscape had transformed. The usual sulfur-yellow terrain was now threaded with veins of blue light, creating a web-like pattern that pulsed with that same rhythmic frequency. Stay close, Rachel ordered as they began their careful traverse across the volatile surface. Their suit sensors screamed warnings about the extreme temperatures, but something seemed to be protecting them. The blue energy actually cooled the ground where they walked, creating safe pathways through the volcanic terrain. James suddenly stopped, pointing ahead. Look at that. Rising from the largest vent was a structure that definitely wasn't natural, a towering spire of crystalline material that seemed to grow even as they watched. It twisted upward like a double helix, intermittently releasing bursts of the same blue energy that now surrounded them. It's some kind of technology, Natasha breathed, her scanner working overtime to process the data. But it's not just mechanical, it's organic. Or at least, it's growing like something organic. Marcus raised his weapon instinctively as something shifted within the crystal structure. Movement at 2 o'clock. The surface of the crystal rippled like water, and a voice filled their helmets, not through the radio, but seemingly directly in their minds. It spoke in patterns of pure thought, concepts rather than words, but somehow they understood. You have awakened us. After eons of sleep, you have called us back. Rachel stepped forward, her heart pounding. We mean no harm. We're scientists, explorers. We know what you are. We have watched your kind grow. Watched you reach for the stars. Now you are ready. Ready for what? James asked, his voice trembling slightly. The crystal structure pulsed brighter, and images flooded their minds, vast cities beneath Io's surface, technology beyond human comprehension, and a threat so ancient and terrible it defied description. We are the Guardians. We were placed here to wait, to watch. Until a species evolved enough to help us fight what comes. The ground shook violently, and new structures began emerging from the sulfuric soil, vast machines built from the same crystal-like material, each one larger than their entire research station. Fight what? Rachel demanded, even as her mind reeled from the implications of what they were seeing. What's coming? The response came not in words or even thoughts, but in a vision that brought them all to their knees. They saw it then, the real reason the Guardians had been sleeping beneath Io's surface. They weren't just waiting for humanity to find them. They were waiting for humanity to help them save the galaxy. Natasha's scanner suddenly emitted a high-pitched whine before shorting out completely. Commander, these energy readings, they're off the scale. Whatever these beings are, they're changing the fundamental structure of Io itself. Marcus checked his weapon again, though they all knew it would be useless against beings of such power. So what do we do? We can't exactly phone home for instructions. Rachel stood straighter, making the hardest decision of her career. We listen. We learn. And we prepare humanity for what's coming. Because whatever these Guardians are facing, it's clear they think we're their last hope. The crystal structures continue to grow, reshaping Io's surface with each passing moment. The blue energy swirled around them more intensely now, and Rachel could feel it trying to communicate something else, something urgent. But before any of them could process what was happening, a new sound cut through the humming, a deep, resonating tone that seemed to come from Jupiter itself. The Guardian structures all pulsed in unison, and a single thought filled their minds. They have found us. We are out of time. The sky above them began to darken, and it wasn't just Io's constant volcanic haze. Something was coming, something that made even these godlike beings prepare for war. The darkness spreading across Io's sky wasn't natural. It moved with purpose, like ink dropped in water, blocking out Jupiter's massive form and the distant stars. The crystalline structures of the Guardians pulsed faster now, their blue light fighting against the encroaching shadow. Everyone back to the station, Rachel ordered, but the Guardian's voice filled their minds again. No. You must stay. You must understand. The team stood frozen as new images flooded their consciousness. They saw vast beings of pure darkness, consuming entire galaxies. They saw the Guardians, once part of a mighty civilization spanning thousands of worlds, fighting a desperate war across the cosmos. And they saw their last resort, hiding beneath Io's surface, waiting for a species with the right combination of traits to help them fight back. Why us? Rachel managed to ask through the overwhelming flow of information. We're barely a spacefaring species. Because you have what we lost. Creativity. Adaptability. The ability to see solutions where we see only patterns. Natasha gasped suddenly, clutching her helmet. Commander, something's happening to the moon's core. The energy patterns are transforming. The ground beneath them began to shift, not with Io's usual volcanic activity, but with deliberate movement. The crystalline structures were spreading downward, converting the moon's molten interior into something else entirely. Io itself was becoming a vast machine. James checked his instruments. Our station's gone. The transformation consumed it completely. We're cut off. Look. Marcus pointed to where the darkness above them had begun to take shape. It formed into massive, geometric patterns that seemed to hurt the eyes if viewed directly. Within these impossible shapes, they could see what looked like stars being devoured, their light twisted and consumed. They are the void. They do not destroy. They transform. They make order from chaos, and in doing so, eliminate all possibility, all potential, all life. The Guardian structures suddenly shot beams of blue energy upward, creating a barrier between Io and the approaching void entities. But the darkness began seeping through almost immediately, like water through a failing dam. How? Rachel demanded. How can we possibly help fight something like this? Instead of answering with thoughts or images, the nearest crystal structure fractured, releasing a stream of blue energy that engulfed Rachel. She felt her suit's systems failing, but she wasn't dying, she was transforming. Commander. Marcus raised his weapon, but Rachel held up a hand. Her suit was now threaded with the same crystalline patterns as the Guardian structures, and her mind could see everything. I understand now, she said, her voice resonating with new harmonics. They don't just want our help. They want to merge their technology with human consciousness. We see patterns they can't because our minds evolved differently. The rest of the team watched in awe as Rachel's transformed suit began interfacing directly with the Guardian's technology. Where their structured, logical approach had failed to counter the Void's attacks, her human intuition created new, unpredictable patterns that the darkness couldn't immediately consume. It's working, Natasha observed, her scanner picking up the changes. The Void's advance is slowing where Rachel's patterns meet it. But the victory was short-lived. The darkness above them convulsed, and new shapes emerged, more complex, more horrible. The Void was adapting. We must merge with all of you. But the process cannot be reversed. You will never be fully human again. James stepped forward without hesitation. If it's the only way to save Earth, to save all life, then do it. Marcus and Natasha nodded their agreement. One by one, they were engulfed by the blue energy. Their suits transformed, their minds expanded, and they became something more than human but less than Guardian. A perfect hybrid of human chaos and Guardian order. As the transformation completed, they could feel the thoughts of the Void entities above. The geometric horror of their consciousness was staggering, but now they could understand it. The Void sought to impose perfect order on a chaotic universe, eliminating the very randomness that made life possible. But in doing so, they revealed their weakness. They can't predict what they can't categorize, Rachel realized. And nothing is more unpredictable than human nature. The team joined their consciousness with the Guardian's vast network. As one, they began creating new patterns, new technologies, new ways of fighting that the Void had never encountered. Human creativity merged with Guardian power, generating defenses that evolved as quickly as the Void could adapt to them. But even as they fought back against the darkness above, they all understood a terrible truth: this was only the beginning. The Void would return with new strategies, new horrors. And humanity would need to be ready. Rachel sent a final command through the crystalline network, launching a small probe toward Earth. It contained everything humanity would need to know about what was coming, and how to prepare. The battle for Io was about to begin. The transformed team stood united on Io's crystalline surface, their hybrid consciousness working in perfect synchronization with the Guardian's vast network. The Void's geometric horrors continued their assault, each attack more complex than the last. They're trying to establish a foothold, Rachel communicated through their shared consciousness. Her form now rippled with blue energy, human shape barely visible beneath the crystalline overlay. If they can anchor themselves to Io's surface, they'll use it as a gateway to reach the rest of the solar system. The team channeled their combined power through Io's transformed core, using the moon itself as a weapon. Where Guardian logic merged with human intuition, new possibilities emerged. They created defensive patterns that evolved randomly, unpredictably, structures that the Void couldn't analyze fast enough to counter. But the enemy's power was overwhelming. Each victory was temporary, each defense eventually breached. The darkness began seeping through their barriers, touching the crystalline surface and transforming it into dead, ordered space. We need something more, James projected, his thoughts tinged with desperation. Something they'll never expect. Natasha's consciousness surged forward with an idea. The volcanic network. If we can't keep them out, maybe we can trap them in. They understood immediately. Working as one, they began reprogramming Io's volcanic systems, turning the moon's natural chaos into a weapon. Marcus's military training merged with the Guardian's technology, creating killing fields within the lava tubes. The void entities that breached their outer defenses found themselves trapped in constantly shifting magnetic fields, their ordered patterns disrupted by random energy bursts. But even this wasn't enough. The void adapted, learning to predict even their unpredictability. The darkness spread further, consuming more of Io's surface with each passing moment. Then Rachel made a discovery that changed everything. "Look at their pattern recognition," she communicated. "They can only process one paradigm at a time. What if we hit them with everything simultaneously?" They gathered their strength for one massive counterattack. Human emotion, Guardian logic, volcanic chaos, and quantum uncertainty, all deployed at once in a devastating wave of pure possibility. The void entities recoiled, their geometric forms distorting as they tried to analyze too many patterns simultaneously. For the first time, the team felt something new from their enemy: confusion. The final stand. But their advantage wouldn't last long. Already, the void was adapting, creating new forms capable of processing multiple pattern types. They needed to end this now. The probe, James projected. Did it reach Earth? Rachel checked their long-range sensors. Yes. Earth knows what's coming. They'll be ready. Then we do what the Guardians brought us here to do, Marcus added. We give humanity a fighting chance. Their plan crystallized instantly in their shared consciousness. They would turn Io itself into a weapon, not to destroy the void, but to trap it. By overloading the moon's core with contradictory patterns of both order and chaos, they could create a prison that would take the void eons to escape. But the cost would be unimaginable. We won't survive this, Natasha observed calmly. The energy release will destroy everything on the moon's surface. But Earth will survive, Rachel responded. Humanity will have time to prepare, to merge with Guardian technology on their own terms. When the void finally breaks free, they'll face a humanity that's ready for them. Together, they began the final sequence. The crystalline structures pulsed faster, drawing power from Jupiter itself. The void sensed their intention and launched a final, desperate assault. The geometric horrors of their forms reached down from the sky like massive tentacles of pure darkness. But they were too late. The team channeled every spark of their humanity, their hopes, fears, dreams, and determination, into the Guardians' network. Their consciousness expanded one final time, encompassing the entire moon. In that moment, they were Io. Rachel's last human thought was a message to Earth: remember us. Learn from us. And when they return, be ready. The moon's core detonated in a carefully controlled chaos of contradictions. Matter and energy, order and entropy, logic and emotion, all released at once in a quantum explosion that trapped the void entities in a prison of pure possibility. The blast atomized everything on Io's surface, including the hybrid beings that had once been Rachel's team. But their sacrifice served its purpose. The void was contained, bound within paradoxes that would take thousands of years to unravel. Epilogue. On Earth, scientists decoded the probe's message and began preparing. The Guardian's technology spread slowly, carefully, allowing humanity to adapt and evolve at its own pace. They built defenses, developed new technologies, and waited. And in the skies above Jupiter, Io still orbits, its surface now a crystalline shell containing something ancient and terrible. The moon pulses occasionally with blue light, a reminder of the heroes who gave everything to give humanity a chance. The void will return. But when it does, it will face a humanity transformed, not by force or necessity, but by choice. A species that learned to balance chaos and order, emotion and logic, becoming something entirely new in the process. The universe watches and waits, as the next chapter in humanity's greatest battle slowly approaches.